Welcome to Creatively Using the Creative Suite. Here's your host, Eric Burnskill. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Creatively Using the Creative Suite podcast. My name is Eric Burnskill. This week we're going to be inside of Photoshop. It's been a long while since we've been in Photoshop, but today it's time to unleash the magic. Well, we're actually going up in space today. We're going to do a space effect. So it's going to require a background with some stars. That's one technique. The text itself is fairly simple. It's just plain colored text. But we're going to make a star that's going to use a custom brush that we're also going to make. So I'm going to start out by doing that. We're going to go to File, New. Going to create a new document. It's going to be 1000 by 1000 pixels. It's going to be fine. Okay, I'm going to fill this with black. So I'm going to use my shortcut Option backspace on the Mac, and that's Alt backspace on the PC. So now that I have this black, I'm going to go to Filter, Render Lens Flare, making sure it's set at a movie prime, brightness 100. If the lens flare preview should look something like this, where the lens flare is off to one side now, all you need to do is hold down the Option key on the Mac, Alt key on the PC. The cancel will toggle here to be a reset button, and it's going to place it in the center again. After I'm set that, I'll click OK. And in order to reduce these sharp edges around the flare coming out to the edge of the document, I'm going to grab my brush tool, increase the size, making sure hardness is set to 0, and that you don't have any weird settings set in the brush panel. And by just increasing the size here a bit more, I'm just going to come in from the side, fade this out from both sides here, making sure it's just a bit faded out so that we don't get any hard edges when we're working on this again. Okay, next we're going to reduce the color, so we're going to desaturate it by using the shortcut Shift-Command-U on the Mac, Shift-Control-U on the PC. And because brushes work the way that whatever black will be filled with a color and whatever white will be ignored, we're just going to flip the colors of this. So Command-I on the Mac, Control-I on the PC will invert this to be white and black instead. Finally, I'm going to use the crop tool. I'm just going to crop down because I don't need all the excess area here for the brush. To define it, we're going to go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and I'm going to name this one Movie Prime Star Brush. Click OK. Now we're done with this document, so we don't need it before. I'm going to return to this document that I set up before. And as before, I'm going to fill this with black. So Option backspace again, like before, Alt backspace on the PC. And let's first go ahead and make the star background. Now you can be thinking about it using a brush and painting it out, but I have another technique which I like, and which I feel gives a little bit more edge to these stars and don't overflow the sky with stars. So I'm actually going to use the rectangular marquee tool. We'll select an area. And on a new layer, we'll fill this with white. So that's, instead of using the Alt backspace or Option backspace, I'm going to use Command or Control backspace to fill it with my background color, which happens to be set to white. I can deselect, Command or Control D, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and set a good radius to this. Now this doesn't look to be anywhere close to stars, but it will be in just a second. Switch to blend mode normal here to dissolve, and you immediately get this big sky here filled with stars. Well, it looks a bit too much. It looks more like an explosion right now. So I'm going to increase the size here. Hold down my Shift key to scale it proportionally, and also the Option key or the Alt key to scale it from the center. And it's going to look even worse, but the way the dissolve filter works is if you lower the opacity, you also lower the amount of, in this case, stars that will appear. So by just having 1 or maybe 2% here, I think we get a nice starry sky that can pass for stars. So next up, we're going to add the text to a new layer. I'm going to create a text. I'm using the font Impact. It's going to be quite large. I'm just going to type space, and I'll make sure it's white as a color for now. I'm just going to place it right in the middle of space here. And now it's time for our brush to shine. So a new layer is required. Going into the brush tool, click on the drop down menu here, and we're going to find our latest brush in here. We don't need to do any settings to this either. All we need to do is select the color, which I'm going to set to I think a good yellow one here. Okay, so I'm just going to place it out right here. So it's a strong star. Could almost pass as the sun. Let's move this in here so we get the full one here. I think this looks good already. You can of course rotate it around to make it fit the way you want the best. But I'm gonna just enhance it because I do want it behind. But I want it to spill over a little bit, so I'm gonna use layer mask. So just zoom in here. Gonna add a layer mask, pick up my brush, make sure I do a regular brush now instead. Drop the size of this, maybe medium hardness, a bit harder this time. Low size brush. I'm just gonna go in here and make sure I get rid of the S. And the reason why I just don't pull a selection from the S is I want to keep some things here in the S, even though you might not think I would. I want again keep it spilling over at the top. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be fairly rough right now. You need to probably make a better job if you do this for real. You don't want to leave as much as I'm doing right now. But once you have gotten rid of the most, here you can start deciding what you want in this. So I'm gonna fill in areas here, rough, where I've missed. I'm just slightly going over the top here, which is where I really wanted to fill in some extra. So it looks like it's spilling over slightly on the S. Obviously, you want to do better masking job than I did, make it a bit smoother than I did. But the difference is here, before and after. And I think that looks better even than having it behind, just spilling over a little bit on the S. Okay, so finally, we're gonna just color the text space here. I'm gonna pull a ground color, I think here. Something like this will look good, I think. Now, the masking here will look a bit weird now that we didn't remove all color from all places, so we really need to go ahead and fix that up. And as I said, you'll want to be more careful with this mask than I was before. Just fixing it up again. Making sure you're masking out a bit of it, but not too much, okay? So we're getting the space effect. We're having that light or star beaming showing from behind. You can change the color of that, obviously, if you want. I think this looks fairly good as it is. Creating the background using a single object that we blurred using the dissolve filter on, create this entire nice space scene. So that's it for this week's episode of the Creatively Using the Creative Suite podcast. My name is Eric Burnskill. I'll see you back next week. Bye bye.